Hello, and thank you for checking out this Uniquely Divine Conversations podcast. I am Karen Slack, the owner of Unique Beauty and Meditation.
And I'm Danielle Graham from Divine Clarity. We are here together sharing conversations about spirituality, life, and everything in between.
And we are grateful for your comments and your shares and your subscribes so that we can continue to have these conversations. And just as a reminder, take what resonates and leave what doesn't. These are conversations about our life and our experiences. And yeah, yours could be different, and that's okay. So check out this episode and enjoy. Hello, good afternoon. Hi, Danielle. How are you today?
I'm wonderful. Hello, how are you?
I'm doing well.
Good.
It's been a few weeks since we've visited for our podcast. So thank you for those that were patient till we got to our next episode. Sometimes life happens and we need a little bit of time to be in our life and revisit later. And that's what we took. So thank you for your patience. Before we get started, we would like to take the opportunity to encourage you to look up and find some information about our Living Intuitively with Tarot events that are coming up. We have launched this process, and it's a great way to embrace, get to know tarot, get to know our unique expression in that, and also expand your meditative process. So if you want more information, you can connect with either of us on our social medias or directly, and we would love to share that with you. So I just wanted to put that out there. So Danielle, tell me a little bit about what's been going on with you. How's life?
Oh, well, we were having this discussion earlier, and life just has a way of getting all lifey on us and sometimes blowing up in our faces. I've been having some medical things going on with some family members that kind of took me out of my normal routine. This is kind of what we wanted to talk about today. I think it's a common misconception that people think when we do what we do, that we're able to stay in this mode and in this routine while we go through life. And that's just not always so. Sometimes life has a way of knocking us out of our routine to get us to do the things we need to do and experience the things we need to experience here in life. And while my family and I were going through this, I was not able to be in this spiritual mode as much as I would have liked to. Sometimes you just have to be the daughter, the family member, the experiencer, and go with that. And that's what we wanted to talk about today. We wanted to talk about when life happens, because it does for everyone. How do you get back to good? What's that reset button? What about you, Karen? What knocked you off your routine?
Absolutely. Well, and it doesn't always have to be negative things. Yes, when we have experiences that are not pleasant in our life, that knocks us off really quickly and easily. But it doesn't always have to be those negative experiences. It can be positive experiences or just shift in process that does knock us off our process, our routine. We recently took a vacation to the ocean, which for the most part was amazing. However, my littlest was sick through the process of it and had an ear infection, and she's all better now. But it was a whole process that was a little bit more intense because it wasn't at home and we weren't in our normal routine. And I guess I had kind of walked into vacation with expectations, and those expectations didn't happen. And I think sometimes when life hands us stuff and it throws us off of our expectations, one of the first things to go is our spiritual routine. And when we were traveling back from the Outer Banks, I got thinking about the GPS. And when we would look through our route, you scroll ahead a little bit to see what's coming. And then you hit that recenter button and it just recenters for you. And I thought it would be beautiful if in life we had a recenter button that we could just hit and find our place again. But so often we don't have that handy dandy little easy button to click, and we have to find ways to recenter ourselves, whether it's after something not so pleasant or something pleasant. So I guess I like the idea of us chatting about that. And I also like that we get to own that the spiritual process doesn't have to be balanced all the time. And that we get to, in sharing our own process with that, hopefully we allow others to set down the expectation of having a perfect spiritual process all the time, because we are not perfect individuals all the time. So our process in life, chances are, is not going to be.
Right. I do just want to touch on that for a minute, because when you said balance, remember, we've always talked about this is balance and perfect is not balance. And so maybe this is balanced, getting knocked off once in a while, finding our recenter, getting knocked off again, finding our recenter. And you're right. I mean, it could be beautiful, joyous things. I know when I go on vacation, I just try to be on that vacation and live those expectations vacation has for you. So that knocks me off sometimes too. And one other situation that I was thinking of while you were talking was about a year and a half ago, I was hospitalized. We talked about this before too. And I spent 5 days alone in the hospital because it was COVID, no visitors. And one day, like my fourth day, I was just completely overwhelmed and I was so upset and I didn't know why. And I just had all these feelings and I didn't know why. And, if I had my wits about me and if I was in my normal routine, I probably would have said, you're picking up on all the energies around you in this hospital. Where's your center? Find your focus. Know what's yours, know what's not yours. But I didn't until I think it was the very end of the day or the next day. And finally I was like, oh my goodness. And then I was able to hit that reset button and get myself back to good. And I know, being empathic the way you are, Karen, you must get a lot of that too, where other people's emotions and actions can weigh on you as well. Are you able to know right away that that's not yours?
No, not at all. It actually, I guess that's where finding our center again and letting go of expectation requires a little bit of self-forgiveness. And that's where I need to forgive myself, because I automatically discredit my emotions as something I'm picking up as others and automatically own them as my own. And to the point that sometimes I'm owning more than what's my own too often. And that's one thing that happened on vacation is I didn't give myself preparation as an empath. Like, we were in a house with a lot of other people. It was a beautiful experience. But it was a new space. It was a new energy and it was new people. And I didn't establish any boundaries or clear the space. And when I started tapping into, I guess when we started experiencing Ava having an ear infection and not being well, it just built up this energy. And I didn't realize it till I got home that maybe if I had implemented some of my energetic care tools, I would have been able to recenter a little bit easier and recognized a more healthy mindset in the process. But I didn't, because I was in it. And
Right.
you have shared something when we were talking earlier about just being, sometimes we just have to be in the experience and experience it, not control it, not fix it, not be different in it, just experience it. And I guess that's what I take away from this, is that as wonderful as a vacation was, I acknowledge the way I experienced it, but I also acknowledge, okay, I want to be more aware of the energies around me and what is mine and what isn't mine,
Right.
not only within my spiritual work, but also in the moments that I'm not in my spiritual work.
Right. There's lessons in it all, and like I said to you when we were talking about it before, maybe this will just, the next time it happens, because there will be a next time, we'll just pick up on it a little faster, a little quicker. Maybe, maybe not on day one, but hopefully a little quicker than last time each time until we find that balance.
And one of the things that I think we often do as spiritual practitioners and people that are leaning into their spiritual selves as more of a professional level, I think we have a tendency to put everything in that work box, put in everything in that spiritual compartment. That spiritual compartment is work. So when we're not working, that goes over there. And we forget that we have a whole spiritual self as an individual, completely separate from work. and that maybe we get to have these experiences spiritually for ourselves. So like one of the things that I loved about our vacation is my husband actually took me to some of the lighthouses that were in Outer Banks. And there's some stories to those lighthouses of possible energies that are still around, or hauntings, or what have you, spirits, that spirit energy that could still be there. And I loved how he acknowledged that. He also knew not to tell me a whole lot about their history, not to really say anything, so I could have just a blind experience with that, because that actually is something I would love to get into. But I made sure that I centered myself for those experiences, because that felt more like work. Yet I didn't for myself within the daily process of life. Looking back on it now, I made sure I took time to do my meditation and to find my center before those experiences. But I didn't do that on a daily basis when I was dealing with my daughter who was slept for 14 hours or what have you. I didn't put it in there at all.
Right, you have these steps that we go through for work and these steps that we go through for home, and they don't necessarily have to be so different all the time.
Yep.
That was a great point.
So what are some of the ways that you recenter? Like we talk about recentering and calming that overly done seesaw. What are some of the ways that you recenter?
Well, first and foremost, and I share this with my clients too, is breath work. To me, that is first and foremost all the time. It's like, stop, take a breath. You don't even have to figure out where the feelings are coming from, or what's going on in the mayhem. Just stop and take a breath. Another thing I always do is to remember to release the energies not belonging to me back to the universe. So I actually have a little saying. I say, I ask that all the energies not belonging to me or this space be released back into the universe for healing and purification. No judgment. I don't need to know what they are, who they came from, where they came from. Just be gone. I know it's not mine. So that is very powerful for me. And if I'm home when things like this happen, which often it does, I will take a bath in Epsom salt, or sometimes just stick it on the top of my head in the shower and repeat that phrase. Whatever it is I feel like I need to do, that will get me back to good. But again, first and foremost, that stopping, take a breath, witness, allowing. That's my go-to. What about you?
I completely agree with the breath work. And I love the notion of I let go of any energies that are not mine. I chuckled at the notion of you don't need to process it, you don't need to know about it, you just need to let it go. There's a part of me is like, what do you mean we don't need to know all about it? Because that's kind of my thing, like taking an energy and understanding all sides of it. Like I kind of really get excited in that, but I don't have to do that all the time. So
No,
I
you
love
don't have to do it in the moment.
Yeah.
We can do that later by messenger. We could do that here, but you do not need to do it in the moment. You can just
Right.
let it go.
Right. So I admire the ability to say it and let it go, because that takes extra practice for me. But I'd have to say the breath work, stopping and breathing. And that's actually something we're working with my little one is, okay, take a deep breath. And part also is, what am I feeling? Because sometimes it feels like there's so much that I'm feeling. Part of it is stopping, taking a breath, and recognizing, what am I feeling? And allowing myself to be in that feeling for a minute. Like, I'm mad. Okay, this is what I'm mad about. I need to be in it. I am mad. Or breathing and like letting things filter out if I'm overwhelmed by a lot, if that makes sense.
Sure it does.
Meditation, of course, is always a great centering tool for me. I have a few little 5-minute meditations that I do, as well as I've recently been working with building routines to help refocus that energy each morning. And I find that recentering. And when I let go of that routine, I find that I need to work harder at finding my center. The ocean was beautifully recentering for me, and it acknowledged when I can find places that have the water, the wind, the sun, and the earth. I feel like those are places that really help me recenter. And there's a beautiful recentering agent to the ocean and to water that I really enjoyed.
Yeah,
Um,
100%. I agree with that. I think that's why I gravitate towards the shower at home. I need that water element. I want that water element.
yep.
And you mentioned about routine too, because if you had said to me weeks ago, meditation is how I can reset, I would have been like, not me, because this monkey mind is not quieting for anything, especially when I'm in the middle of something. But since what, about a week now, a little over a week, a little under a week, I can't remember, I have been devoting 10 minutes each morning to meditation, to just quiet time. And now I can understand you saying that, because now I feel like that would help me reset, where a week and a half ago, I couldn't imagine that being a tool.
And I love that it's taken you like we had mentioned in our regular conversations, that consistency of doing it. It doesn't have to be 20, 30 minutes each day. Even if it's just a couple minutes each day, that consistent visit is what has made the difference. I love that.
Right.
I love
And we've talked about many times about how that just sets the tone to our day and how we can feel scattered. And I don't know, maybe sometimes make toast and a wrap in the morning when you're scattered, because you haven't had that moment to yourself. And I really appreciate that moment now.
Yep. I find for me that moment comes with unpacking. I don't realize often how much is going on in my head and within my energy and within my emotions, excuse me. And I find myself, that recentering moment sometimes feels chaotic because all of it is happening at once in my mind, or all of it is happening at once in my emotions, and it's not making sense. It's just overwhelming. But to sit and breathe and witness that overwhelm within that meditative experience seems more powerful than when I'm able to, at times, seems more powerful than when I'm able to truly find a deep spiritual connection in my meditation.
Right. Let's just take a second and honor that and acknowledge that sometimes it's not, it is going to be chaotic when you're hitting that reset button. It's not an automatic, everything's perfect in the world. It just doesn't happen like that. The chaos
Absolutely.
can be okay.
And like we had talked about with the monkey mind, it's not that the monkey mind shuts off. It's that we learn to be with it, and we learn to let pass the parts that don't serve us now, and to acknowledge the parts that need to be addressed.
Yeah, I love the way you said that to me the other day about learning to work with the monkey mind, because it's just not going to disappear. Some days it's better than others, some days it's more quiet than others, but it doesn't disappear. So we
Yep.
do have to learn to navigate that.
Absolutely. And a couple other ways for recentering. Every once in a while I will burn, like today, sitting down and recentering with work. And of course, because it's work, I'm more purposeful about it. I need to be more purposeful in my life about it. Hello, raw, vulnerable, not perfect moment. Lighting a little bit of sage or incense and honoring that the intention is to clear the energy of the space.
Right.
Whether you believe that that does clear the energy of their space or not, I'll leave that with you. However, for me, it's the intention of it that is powerful. Reiki is also very centering for me. Having that as a tool within my routine has been super powerful, and allowing that within my spaces, like my workspaces, I set the intention and I use some of the techniques with Reiki to center my space. But then I've also heard people that find hiking very centering. Yoga can be very centering. I think there's something about the physical movement of the body with yoga that so many people connect with.
Yeah, I was just going to say that it doesn't have to be something spiritual for you to be able to reconnect. It could be just getting back into your routine, whatever that is for you. Yoga, I think it's because there's so many grounding poses. There's so many body parts that are strongly planted purposefully to the ground that that makes me feel that way. You talk about intention. I have the diffuser going with a grounding, I don't remember the name of it, but it's for grounding an essential oil inside. I have a water element that's playing in the corner too, so I can hear that because that's very grounding for me. But even shuffling cards, I don't have to pull one, I don't have to look at them. Shuffling cards is grounding. So maybe for you it is taking a walk, maybe for you it's drawing, writing, reading, whatever your norm, whatever that calm reset is for you. It does not have to be something spiritual.
Also, the notion of fidgeting.
Yeah.
Like I have a bracelet that I'll fidget with, and I have a salt stone that I'll hang on to. That actually, the salt stones have become a very favorite tool within my house. I don't know so much if my teenager is using hers as much because, you know, but I know that Ava, that's a big thing is, okay, go sit with your salt stone for a minute. And it gives a weighted presence for her to focus on so that
Yeah.
she can find her center. And I just got to say, I think that sometimes when you get way off center, like you've even lost, if your energy is the picture of a GPS in the car, you're not even close to even seeing where the road is ahead, and you need to really recenter, you're way off track. Having a full day just to not do anything and to just
Mm.
be and to binge watch sappy movies and cry, or to, get lost in the Avengers movies, which is one thing we do in my house. I feel like those days when you just disconnect for a little bit can be super recentering as well.
Yeah, that's a great point.
It's an ebb and flow for sure.
It's a what?
An ebb and flow.
Yes. Sorry, I didn't hear you. All right. So what do you say, since we're both grounding and and shuffling some cards, that we pull a card?
Absolutely. Oh, one last thought that I thought of when you were
Sure.
talking about your elements in your room. Music is
Yeah.
another one for me. Music is very much another one for me.
It's funny, isn't it, how many tools we can name off, yet when we're in the moment, we can't think of one thing to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that could be a question that we get to pose as each other as friends, or we get to pose to those in our family. Okay, you seem a little off center right now. What can you do? What do you need to find your center, to find your balance? And I think I'm going to use that. I may not be, people may not like it, but I'm going to ask, what do you need to re-find your center?
I see you asking your children that, and our granddaughter goes through that. Where now I think parenting has changed a little, at least from what I see and in my circle, where we're asking that of children. What is it you need? Maybe you need to take a breath and think about, tell me what you need from here. Where when I was growing up, or even when I was raising our child, that really wasn't a thing as much. I love that. I love that we're teaching our kids that.
Yeah, we often ask our little one, where do you feel it?
Mhm.
Do you feel it? Like she often talks about how she's afraid she's going to get sick, or she feels it in her tummy's upset. So I'll ask her, where do you feel it? Is it in your belly, or is it in your mind, or is it something you're afraid of? And then we'll often ask her, does it feel like this, or does it feel like this? And that helps her decipher what she's feeling physically. And then we go into, are you nervous? What are you nervous about? So yeah, no, I'm glad that gets to be part of the dialogue.
It's empowering.
Yep. Okay. Go ahead and pull. What cards are you working with today?
I actually have been drawn to use my own cards lately. I've been pulling them from my business page and been sitting shuffling them. So I think I will just pull one from here. So I just asked, what is it? That's funny. What is it everyone needs to know? And it is a picture of the ocean, oddly enough. This is Maine. It's Algonquin. When we went to visit Algonquin, it was our first and only time in southern Maine. Usually we're mid-Maine visitors, but just the color itself, this lavender, the pink, the blues in it is so very calming and connecting for me. All of those colors are about connecting for me. The pink in there is bringing in that heart chakra and that love for me. this, again, the elements are very calming and very recentering. It's the sounds of the oceans. In one of your posts, and I love it, and I'm gonna remember it forever, is the weight of the sand and how the sand can shift underneath you yet still be so supportive. No one ever talks about the sand. um, but all of it, all of these elements, there's water, air, no fire, but earth, all here to support you and to help recenter you. So use them. I love that card. It brings me right back to that day and that feeling. And it is very centering for me itself.
I love that. And I love that there, even though there isn't direct fire, there's the light, there's the sun in me, that's fire as well. But I also love that it's settled in its setting, because it gives us permission to not be fired up and to be, maybe have more of a subdued energy within that element. And I think that offers it, almost like it calms down that more powerful side so that we can listen to the more subtler sides of ourselves. I love
I
that.
love that.
Very cool. So I have a new deck that I bought on vacation. It is the Wild Harmonic Oracle, Gabriel Merrihew. It's actually, the cards are circular, so it's very different. I'm going to pull one from here.
All right. I love that you're loving this deck so much.
I know, right? So I love the moon. I love how it highlights the water. I feel like, being that we've got this river here that honors a consistent flow in our life, it honors that consistent renewal. You can stand by the same river, the same creek every day and still experience a different energy, because that water is different every day. And we often forget the power of the flow of water. It finds a way to get where it needs to go, and it finds a path of least resistance, or it creates its own path of least resistance. And I think that this water is settled and smooth. I feel like that honors our ability to quiet our more active, powerful side, and to listen to that more intuitive, emotional side, and to allow balance and flow into our life. I love that the earth around it, the hills, they feel more manicured and controlled. They feel more organized. So it helps us flow through and find that order within our life. And I love the moon and how it accents our intuitive side. And that like when we go outside at night, there's a part in our mind that's like, I can't see like I can during the day. So it activates our other senses. And I like that this does that. It talks about the water of dimensional. It talks about different elements in this deck. And the idea of the water element honors our sacral chakra and honors our emotional flow. And the dimensional honors a higher awareness or a connection to a higher power. So through flowing with our emotions, through flowing with that energy, we get to connect to a higher ideal, or we find our way to a higher understanding. So
that's beautiful. I'm reminded, when I look at it, I'm reminded of, we will watch survival shows and things, and when people are lost, they always go for the water and follow the water downriver. And I feel like if you go with the flow of the water, it will lead you out of that lost feeling. But you can certainly choose to go against the grain, but it's not going to get you anywhere fast. But learning how to go with that flow and to find yourself.
Absolutely. I love that. Very cool. Very cool. So any last minute thoughts, Danielle, for any of our discussion today or on either of the cards?
I think I just want to remind people it's okay when you're knocked off kilter, and to expect it, because that's what life is all about. Life is not going to be this line of perfection, this, point A to point B. It's always going to be that ebb and flow, like you said. And the more we are centered inside, the less we're going to let everything outside knock us off our game. So, the more times we can reconnect, you can reconnect 100 times in one day if you need to. It's okay. But the more we can reconnect, recenter, and find ourselves, the better off we'll be.
Absolutely. Amen. I agree. Perfect. We would invite you to check out our websites and our social media. We will add some links to the description below. And we invite you to join us for Living Intuitively Through Tarot. We are excited about this adventure through the tarot energy, and to get to know it more and to get to know ourselves more in relation to it. If you or anybody you know is interested, connect with us. And
I love that I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I love that the way we present it is allowing everyone to find what it means for them. And it's not us giving our interpretation of a card, but giving you the space to find what it means for you.
I love that. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I like that it fits into, it's not a specific tarot deck. It fits into any tarot deck. And I actually found myself with this deck. This is not a tarot deck. And I found myself, the first one that we're working with is the Fool. And when I was shuffling through this deck, you need to know it, and pulling cards, I found a Leap of Faith card. I don't even know where it is now, but I'm like, that completely fits with some of the notions of the Fool.
Yes.
So we can implement these ideals into more than just working with tarot. So
Right. And you don't need to be a tarot reader, and you don't even need to have a tarot deck to do this, to live intuitively with tarot.
absolutely. And I have to say, admittedly, personally, I lean more into other different unique decks. I don't necessarily read tarot on a regular basis. I love the notion of creating meditations to inspire the characters of tarot or the energies of tarot. So I'm all in exploring this with you. And I'm not as well versed in tarot like Danielle is. So welcome to the crowd.
It's going to be an experience for all of us. We'll each pick up what we need to from it. And I love that it allows for that.
Absolutely. Very cool. So thank you for those that joined us. Thank you for your patience as we took a little bit of a hiatus and then found our way back. And if you have any questions for us, don't be afraid to let us know.